right, y'all, before we start, because some of y'all be tripping, under the advice of counsel, I got to add that the views, thoughts, opinions that are expressed on this podcast are mine and mine alone. They do not represent my employer. All right, let's go.
Because I was like, damn, do we really want to get into this discussion? Because if we get into this discussion right here, y'all.
What's up, y'all? We are back with another episode of Ridgemont Forest Finest, the podcast. And today we are going to be tackling a very, very important topic, teen dating violence. So today I have a special guest here with me, Ms. Shannon, owner, operator of Hurt Speak Wellness Center, licensed professional counselor located in Pearland, Texas, former educator that has escaped the plantation. Yeah. And I'm still there, but we getting there. So brought you here, so I want to talk to you about that. Now, as educators, we have seen this, as I said earlier when we were talking, I'm middle school, and I've seen it in middle school. So just kind of want to talk about the prominence of teen dating violence and talk about some signs that parents need to be looking for, some signs that our kids need to be looking out for when they're getting in these relationships, and just kind of talk about all things teen dating violence. So let's get into it. So talk about what exactly is teen dating violence and how it's different from adult domestic violence.
So first, starting off, they're very similar. Just because there's still emotional abuse, there's still physical abuse, there's still digital abuse, verbal abuse, all of that is the same. So people are really aware of that aspect of it. The difference when it comes to teens is their brain's not developed. Mm-hmm. So some of the things that they normalize is because it's completely based off of emotions and not necessarily like this is what I really want to choose to do. Mm-hmm. So the impulsivity is different for kids versus an adult whose brain is fully developed.
Right.
And I'm talking about people who are over 25 when I say adult brain, because your brain is really still developing just a little background until you're about 25 years old. So for them, a lot of it is impulsive. It's what I feel is real, and so I'm going to operate off of it. The difference when you get into adults and like domestic violence, they usually have some type of shared space. So whether it's finances, whether it's kids, whether it's the house, they have things that they can't separate as
locks them in.
They're locked in. They locked in and they can't get out.
Yeah.
So teens don't necessarily have that aspect when it comes to their relationships.
Okay. So when we're talking about teens and what they feel, right? I don't know. I remember my first boyfriend, my first love, and you could not tell me that what I was experiencing was not the real thing. You could not tell me that I was not going to be with this man for the rest of forever at 16, 17 years old, right? But now I think we're seeing, and this is from a mom, I got grown children now, right? We're seeing the social media, we're seeing reality TV, and we're seeing these rappers, these rap songs, and toxic relationships. Abuse is almost glorified, glamorized, right? Mm-hmm. These girls think if somebody tell you, I'll choke the out of you if you ever, they're like, oh, he loves me. He thinks it's cute. Oh, my God, this is for real, right? So why would they choose to stay in unhealthy relationships, or why are they glamorizing or romanticizing toxic relationships?
Yeah, a big part of it is they just don't know. They don't have the experience. They don't have the life experiences. They don't have the knowledge to really understand it. So they stay. They stay. Like, this is what's normal. This is what I see on TV, so it got to be real. They singing songs about it. I might get famous off this shit.
Yeah.
And then, now what?
And they getting paid. This man takes care of me.
Correct. I might be on social media. We might be picture perfect. There are a lot of reasons in kids' heads nowadays that we really didn't deal with a long time ago because we did not have the social media aspect. What we saw on TV was more Family Matters, Full House.
Cosby Show. Yeah.
We didn't see, or what was that? Oh, dog, what's the name of that damn show? The college one.
A Different World.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A Different World. That's what we saw as
right.
Right? So,
and that's what we wanted.
That's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Everybody knew I got to find my person. I got to get married so I can have my full family.
Yeah.
Whereas now, that's not necessarily what's represented. It's more so, can we hook up? Can we grow together? Can we glow up?
Right.
And it doesn't really matter the price that you have to pay. And kids don't realize some things come at a higher cost than they're really willing to just put out there, you know?
Yeah. So what have, in your counseling practice, in your practice as a counselor in schools, what are some harmful behaviors that teens are often mistaken for signs of love? Like, what are some things that these boyfriends or girlfriends are doing that we think or they think is love, but it's really harmful?
Yeah. One of the biggest ones I see is the possession. Like, you're mine. You're all mine. Nobody else can have you. And I want you with me at all times. So I got to know where you at. Tell me your location. Share your location with me.
I hate that.
Let me get into your phone. If you really love me and you're not doing nothing wrong, and they kind of use this manipulation tactic, it is really about power and control. If I can kind of control your emotions, I can really get you to do whatever I want. So if you think this is love, then you're going to do what I say.
Yeah.
And that's really when it comes down to it. So the possession of it, they like knowing somebody is kind of controlling.
Yeah.
Like,
because I'm loved.
I'm loved.
Yeah.
And sometimes that could be from a lack of what they're getting elsewhere. And sometimes it just feels really good to know somebody is kind of low-key obsessed with you.
Yeah.
Like, we like to hype
Feels
ourselves
good.
up.
We're low-key a little narcissist ourselves. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm guilty of that.
Absolutely.
So embarrassing to say in my big grown
Absolutely.
age, but I get it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the pressure. I know, again, I teach 8th grade, so I'm middle school, but I am seeing an increase in the pressure for these kids to feel like they have to be in a relationship. Kind of like you said earlier, right? Feel like I do belong to somebody. I'm somebody's property. That blows me that they want to belong to something or somebody so bad.
Yeah.
Like, what are you seeing with that?
You know, honestly, that part of it is not abnormal to me. So our brain wants two things: to feel safe and know that we belong. Humans are relational beings. We're designed to come together. So this is why even some places use isolation as a form of punishment, right? So we naturally gravitate toward other people. So when we see somebody else likes us, or God forbid, we got a whole crew that likes us,
Right. Oh.
that means like I'm really the shit, right? So then if you're not getting that attention, then the question usually for the kid is, well, what's wrong with me? Why aren't the people coming to me? I'm seeing they go to her,
Right.
go to him. What's wrong with me? And so it kind of reinforced the belief of something's wrong with me. And then I get this one person who actually sees me, and it's so different. And it's like, I've been waiting on this moment.
Why are you speaking to grown women too? I know we're talking about teen dating violence, but this is so.
Listen,
Don't therapy me. Don't
And
me.
don't
Don't therapy
even
me.
say it's not just grown women,
Right.
it's men too.
Yeah.
Because everybody is human. So our brain naturally, again, it wants to feel safe. It wants to belong. And when we don't have that, we can feel that absence, and we try to fill it in with whatever we got. Some
Right.
people go to alcohol. Some people go to relationships. Some will just try and simplify it to little other areas. I know this ain't the after dark series.
But you can say sex.
Sex.
Okay.
Some people like to just sext it out.
Right.
Some people do other things. Work. It's not uncommon for people to just try and fill in that void of loneliness.
Right.
And so kids are no different.
So I think when we see in teens, and I can say, I guess grown ups too, we're going to go back to teens, and back down to teens, because this could be a whole nother therapy session for some of our adult friends here. But those things make the kids overlook those red flags, right? That
Absolutely.
sense of wanting to belong, that sense of wanting to feel like I am with somebody, that causes them to overlook those red flags as well. I remember we had a situation a couple of years ago. They were 8th graders, and when I say they were like Bobby and Whitney, it was so crazy how attached these kids were, right? And we say attached, but we know these kids are having sex earlier and earlier and earlier, right? And I feel like once sex gets involved, and then they feel like, oh my God, I lost my virginity to this person, they really feel like they're that guy's property. And I shouldn't say just guys, because the girls are possessive like that too. The girls are, let me see your phone, let me see this, let me see that, you're mine. And it's so crazy. So I think that's a whole other tangent. But when they bring their drama to school, let's go there.
Okay.
When they bring their toxicity to the schoolhouse, and we get the parents that call up there, the parents want us to separate them, keep them apart. I don't want him talking to her. They can't have classes together. Are we failing these kids by not keeping them apart or intervening in their toxic relationships, or what? What's our role in this whole thing?
No.
Okay.
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of there's just a lack of education.
Okay.
Like, let's be real, adults feel really uncomfortable a lot of times talking about what is healthy in a relationship. And you have to include sex in that conversation. You have to include consent in that conversation. And you have a group of parents who's like, yes, please talk to them about it because
I won't do it. Yeah.
And then you have a group of parents of, that's not your job. You stay out of that lane. I'm going to take care of it. But then when it doesn't get taken care of and they get introduced through porn, or they get introduced through their friends who the same age with the lack of a brain are teaching them that, then now what do we do?
Right.
So there's that part of it where schools can educate kids better and more on what are healthy relationships, starting with friendships, not necessarily just dating, because you do have the kids who like, this is my friend, you're my best friend.
Can't talk to her. Can't play with her.
I remember going from elementary to 6th grade, so 5th to 6th, and I had the same group of friends. And then I found a new friend. She's still my best friend to this day.
Hey, girl. Hey, best friend.
Hey, best friend. Hi, and she was like, we were always together. We had every class together. And my original group of friends, they were like, why are you hanging around with her all the time? Like, we're not going to be your friend. And I was just like, oh, okay.
They're going to be my friend.
Well, I'll see y'all later. Girl.
Right.
Whatever.
But you had the strength and the confidence at the time to do that. But if we think about some of our little 5th and 6th grade babies, they don't. They're weak. They fold.
Absolutely.
Because then they want, I just want to be friends with everybody. Why can't we all be friends? Yeah.
We talk about fight, flight, and freeze. There's spawning too. That's people-pleasing behavior. So that's when we go above and beyond.
What's it called again?
Fawning.
Okay.
Fawning behavior. So it's when you just go above and beyond. Like, I'm going to take care of you even if it comes at the expense of me. Wow. So, like, I'll set myself on fire to keep you warm. And so you'll love me. You want to keep me. You won't abandon me. You won't reject me. So you remember, I told you it's really,
this is everybody. Behavior. This is human.
Yes.
Oh, ouch,
yes.
ouch. Okay.
Yeah. So can schools do better? Yes, but parents absolutely need to do better. And
that was going to be my next
side.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So where does the line? Where do we draw the line? Like, what's the parents' responsibility at home, and then what's our responsibility at school as educators? Like,
in the perfect world, parents are doing their job of talking to their kids openly and honestly, as much as they truly know about what's healthy.
Okay.
Because we do have some parents that their healthy and my healthy are not
two different
the same.
things. Hello.
So we want to just get the conversation going. Let's normalize that in the home. And then after that, the school is reinforcing it. So they're constantly getting, this is what's healthy, this is what's healthy, this is what's healthy. You know what I mean? And so it's just, it's a really hard area. But I do think schools are slowly improving, but it's usually because a lawsuit has come.
Yeah, something has happened.
Extreme.
Yeah.
Has happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why didn't y'all do anything?
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't understand. Like, educators got a lot on the plate to keep track of, to do, to make sure it's covered. And we're talking from the top.
Yeah.
At that point, coming down to the teacher in the classroom, who also has TEKS, who has the CBAs, who has the testing,
IEPs,
go do the meeting and make sure this is in on time. And now you want me to break up her and him in my class? Like, y'all.
I can't even.
I can't.
Y'all and then they together this week, and then next week she was somebody else, and I can't.
Correct.
I can't keep up.
Correct.
When you said something earlier, it made me think. I have this weird confession, right? I have this weird thing that I do, and when I'm bored, and sometimes at work, I like to go on the TA website or the OCR website, and I like to look up complaints. Like I like to see what parents or who's filed OCR complaints against school districts, and one common thing I see in a lot of the resolutions of these OCR complaints is that parents are requesting a class or parents are requesting a professional development. So when you said that we have these sessions because something major has happened, it made me think of that. Like I'm going back to some cases in some school districts that are very near and dear to us around here. And I'm like, oh, that's why they did that training, or that's why it was so random that this popped up on the calendar, and like, oh, it makes sense now that this is why we're doing it. So if I think about things that we possibly should be talking about often, we have a assembly. I haven't had an assembly about sexting. I haven't attended one, or we haven't had one in like 6 or 7 years. But it makes me think, well, why aren't we having that annually? But now it makes sense because something happened and we had it then.
Always.
But that's something that we need to be talking about as well. So then when we get into the conversation of, should we be having sex education? Should sex education and relationship education be mandatory? So, you can have relationship education without talking about sex. But like you said earlier, we're going to get into the whole don't talk to my kid about sex. And I'm like, ma'am, your kid having more sex than me. Like, you might want me to be talking to them about it. You ain't doing it. Somebody got to talk to them.
One of my schools had an orgy. Like, real talk. Let's be real. These kids know more than we ever knew at that age because we did not have access to the resources that they have. Period.
Yep.
So, absolutely. You have to talk about it. I've been talking about sex with my kids since they were about 2 or 3, until when they could talk.
Oh, wow.
So we started naming body parts. This is your mouth. This is your breast. This is your penis. This is your vagina. This is your butt. And we give them the real names. And so I would ask them, what parts are always off limits? And my boys will tell you, my mouth, my penis, my butt. Okay. Can anybody touch that? No. What if it's somebody you know? No. If it's somebody that you are close to and you really, really love them a lot, is it okay for them? No. Okay. So then it's like, well, what about bath time? Because they are little people, right? And then they'll ask, okay, but what about this? I say, well, I'll give them the example. Yeah, what about bath time? Is that okay for you? Are you comfortable with it?
Right.
What does your tummy say? Because a lot of times they understand, like, their tummy feels funny. Okay, if your tummy's not okay with it, you can start cleaning yourself. Yeah. That's okay. And so like it starts really young with just normalizing, like, good touches, bad touches. And normalizing sometimes bad touches can feel good, which is a real hard conversation for parents. It's a real hard conversation for adults because, let's be real, it can be triggering because a lot of people have experienced some type of abuse. And that's it sucks. It sucks to have to go into that space, especially if you haven't healed what you still have within you. You know?
Goodness. So me, I am the educator that I don't want to know nothing. Don't tell me nothing. Don't write nothing in your journal because I don't feel like writing no report. I just want to do my little 8 and skate. All right. I don't want to know anything. So yes, I like to tell you. I tell my kids at the first day of school every year, I'm here for you if you need me. But I don't really mean that, y'all. Like, but I mean it. But I be like, please, God, don't tell me anything. Right.
Yeah.
And I learned a very, very hard lesson. Several years ago, working at a school that we talked about earlier in that feeder pattern, we had an issue with an adult educator that got, caught up with a child. And that child happened to be a student of mine and a student of my friends the previous school year. And when the shit hit the fan, they immediately came to us. I need all the writing portfolios. And I was like, oh shit. Did I give completion grades for some stuff? Because apparently the kid in the previous grade was writing in their journals. And I was thinking, oh shit, I don't like the grade. I just give completion grades. So now in my mind, because that incident happened and it scared the hell out of me, I give everything in chunks now. Like you don't have to write no full 4-page paper for me. Give me your intro paragraph. Let me read that. All right, good. Bye. Let me read your next paragraph because they will confess some stuff in that paper. And if you ain't reading it or you read it, quote, air quotes, and you give it 100 and that child said something in there that you acknowledge that you read, your ass in trouble.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in trouble.
No.
So I like to be like, ooh, I don't know nothing. I didn't hear nothing. Don't say nothing to me. And I like to turn a blind eye. But why do you think that some educators turn a blind eye to abusive and toxic relationships that their students may be having?
CYA. Bottom line, CYA. Covering your ass. And bottom line, you also have a need there. So that's taking away your stability, your financials. So nobody want to lose a bag. And it's not that you want to put a kid at risk for it. But again, teachers, educators are human too. And I think that's what's hard about it. Yeah, they're adults, but they're human too. So we're not perfect. And ideally, we want to be able to catch it, but we don't want to have to catch it at the expense of our job. And I don't want to deal with it. And let's be real, sometimes these fucking parents are out of their mind.
Bananas, yes.
And it'd be like you showing up at the school, you pulling up your car on me, blocking me.
Yes.
Like people don't necessarily believe it's not the low-key parent that comes and want to have a parent conference with you and talk to you about whatever, or they got a problem that you said something with a certain tone.
Right.
Y'all cool. We can handle that all day.
They coming on 10.
Correct.
They coming with violence. Yeah.
They coming with violence. And it's like, we don't get paid enough for that.
Not at all.
Like, we're not 6 figures, and our job really don't stop. Because somebody calls me. Just this past weekend, I had to call somebody and ask for help from school because it was like, hey, I got this kid. And can you tell me something?
Wow.
And so you're working around the clock. Teachers work around the clock doing grades or after school events or tutoring or whatever else it is. Counselors are pretty much like on call.
Right.
We see something on social media. We got to get updated on the weekend. Principals, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really know how much communication there is until you keep moving up the chain. And you think you get a lot of emails as a teacher, like that doubles.
Wow.
With each role that you go up. So it's really easy to start missing stuff. And we don't really have a proactive system that helps weed that out. We have a very reactive system. So what happens? Well, we always going to miss something.
Yeah.
We're going to miss something.
Then it's your fault.
And then it's your fault. So we're going to have to slap your hand so that everybody else can survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want this out.
And I remember a counselor friend of ours one morning. It had to be like a Saturday or a Sunday morning. I called him and I'm like, hey, good morning. We talk every day. I'm like, hey, good morning. What are you doing? Oh, I'm out on highway such and such. I say, what are you doing out there? Oh, man, I got a call this morning and a kid ran away. I said, okay, what they got to do with you? Right? It's like they called the principal called the counselors, and we out here helping the search. We looking through fields, and I'm like, it's Saturday or it's Sunday. And he was like, yeah, it don't matter. And I said, no, it gotta matter. It gotta matter. So then I'm back, say, golly, y'all never get to turn off.
No,
y'all never get to turn off.
Not really.
That's crazy. So they can be, and I know some of our kids are overwhelming during the school day, right? I'm gonna keep it a band. We got kids that elope. We got kids that do all kind of things, and you walk in the door and you're on go until 4:30, and then to know that after 4:30 on a Saturday, on a Sunday, this same very kid you still have to be on call for if they call you.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, it's boundary setting to that. But let's be real, we just care about our kids.
Care, yeah.
Like, you do have educators that are still in it with their heart. And that's the hard part about it. You don't really get paid for feeling. And you really do care about these kids, even the hard ones. And it's like, okay, so if that means I got to show up because this kid is gone, like, it's important enough to me to show up. And, like, what do you get? A comp day? Like, thanks.
If you even get that. Yeah. If you get that, and depending on where you
that's
are.
That's improving, but it's like you got to ask for it.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't.
I got to be like, remember? Yeah. But I don't want to do that.
No.
I don't want to have to do that because I want you to acknowledge that I'm going above and beyond. But what gets me about counselors and social workers that are going above and beyond in these situations is that when shit hits the fan, because it's going to always hit the fan, y'all's hands are the first ones to get slapped. And I'm like, that's so unfair. And some of this stuff is totally beyond your control. But like, oh, they came into your office this day and you fanned them off because you were on lunch duty. Yeah, I was on lunch duty. I didn't know she was going to go in there and cut herself. I was at lunch duty. But that's your fault because somebody got to take this hit.
I literally said in a meeting, I think that was last year. I said, when it comes to all of this stuff, this meeting is great. We can come up with all of these plans. But at the end of the day, until you allow your counselors to truly be counselors and not schedulers and not lunch
testing coordinators,
and not 504 coordinators or any other type of coordinator that goes unpaid, you the junk drawer of the school, then we're going to always miss something. Because guess what? There's nothing tied to this kid saying, I need to talk to you, but there is something tied to me being late on a 504 or missing a testing accommodation. We got testing around the corner. It's not an excuse. It really is just an explanation for the system is not working.
Yeah, our systems are broken.
It's broken, for sure. It is broken.
Yeah.
So
I know our kids, we have these QR codes in our classrooms, right? And the kids can just take their phones out and schedule an appointment with the counselor or fill out a Google form or something like that to get on the counselor's schedule. And then sometimes they come to me and they're like, I need to go see her now. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to hear it, so bye, go see her. But then they come back, well, she's at lunch duty or she's in a 504 meeting or she's subbing somebody's class because we got a teacher that's been out for 6 weeks. And now this kid got a crisis, but because nobody was available, they in the bathroom cutting.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, shit, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
It's everybody's fault.
It's a broken system.
It's a broken system.
It's
That's crazy.
System.
So I remember being in school and our teachers, our counselors would be counselors. It's like if we had a suite of them, everybody had a role and a responsibility, right? So the hope was that nothing got missed on the campus. If you are responsible for getting kids into college, cool, that's your job. If you're responsible for the 504s or whatever, that's your job. If you're responsible for sitting down talking to kids about what's going on in their lives, then that's your job. And now we don't have that at all because everybody got a caseload. Everybody got an alpha split. Everybody got everything else that they have to do before the business of children and their emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look on the TEA website, I want to say the recommended ratio for counselor to student is like 1 to 250 or something like that.
I'm sorry.
So just those numbers alone, it's a recommended ratio. But imagine on 250 names, 250, how you been doing, what's going on in your world, and like getting to know you. And like some kids are going to open up and just, floodgates flow open, and you going to know any and everything you want to know about them. And then you got the other kids, they don't feel safe. They've had some issues where I can't trust adults, I can't trust kids. So I'm gonna take a step back from you, stop being in my business. But I got 250 of them minimum. Because
you say 250, and I'm thinking on the campus like mine, I think we had 1,200.
Yeah,
we got 2 counselors.
Correct.
So them numbers is off.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Remember that broken system?
That broken system. So then their alpha is split in half. So now that 250 goes to 550 each.
Yes.
And out of the 550, 450 y'all got some type of accommodation and some type of meeting that I got to have.
Yes.
On top of what we just started doing, they changed RTI to MTSS. So now the counselors are doing MTSS meetings too.
Yes.
Who's speaking to the baby's emotions? Oh, I know what. We got those little great, beautiful things a couple of years ago called SEL counselors.
Yes.
We got them with the COVID money, right?
Yes.
They were getting paid with the COVID funds, if I'm not mistaken. And then when the
think
COVID funds went away, then what happened to those counselors? And what was the specific role of those SEL counselors, if you can tell them?
Yeah. I got to do that job.
Oh.
My first year, I loved it.
Okay.
It was so exciting because when I applied, it was like, I'm about to actually get to do counseling. Like, you can't tell me to go change a schedule. You can't tell me to go sit in the cafeteria and watch these kids for 30 minutes. Like, I for real get to do counseling. And it was huge. It was profound. I loved it. The hard part about it was I had multiple campuses. So we started with 3 in the district that I was in. And then we got 1 more that next year because we had gotten a new school. And you remember the numbers I told you?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
4 schools roughly each.
Because now everybody knows that you're on campus. Because
Correct.
now the kids know
Correct.
you're going to be on our campus on Thursday. So
Yes.
now your schedule for Thursday is open
Yes.
because everybody got to go see Miss Shannon because I got a problem and I formed this relationship and this rapport with her and I only want to talk to her. I don't want to talk to none of y'all asses. I just want to talk to her.
Yes.
And if I got to hold this anger in or cut up all the way until Thursday, I'm
I'ma
going to
do
do
it.
that because I get to see Miss Shannon on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then there's a crisis, so on Thursday I can't be there.
And now we got to
Or
pay
then
for
there's
that.
a training I need to go help
Yeah.
with, or a training I need to actually attend so that I can be better when I'm on campus. And so I used to be the person in the meeting like, I need this training, this training, this training, this training. And what I finally figured out is I was just trying to get better faster because I knew I had a very limited time with kids and I had to be really effective really quick because the chances of me seeing you again that month were slim to none.
Crazy.
Because your numbers grow. Your numbers
That's
grow. They
so
feel real
sad.
safe with you. So you finally understand me.
That's
Finally, I got this
so
an adult
crazy.
that got time for me. And you can't be here regularly. And so it's like quantity over quality. It looks great on paper that I saw 300 kids.
I was just
the
about to say
quality
that.
of my service
Yeah.
at 300 is really not the same as me being able to see just 30 regularly.
Right.
But it's not going to have the big impact on numbers.
And you know what grinds my gears too is you know how some things like there are things you wish in meetings you could just yell out to parents like they lying, they on that bullshit, right? But you have to be professional and to be a team player, right? So when we're in these meetings and they say, oh yeah, we have an LCO counselor on campus and they'll see them 30 minutes a week. They'll see them and it's like, that ain't how that works. You can't just, but they're saying that to comfort the parent, right? Let me hurry up and get you out of this meeting because it's like a sweatshop with 504 meetings and IEP meetings. And so if I say that to a parent, like, yeah, we have a SEL counselor. Their job is specifically to do ABC, and we'll recommend that they see them 30 minutes a week. So don't worry. They got anxiety. They got this. She'll talk to them once a week. We're good. And that puts that parent at ease, right? And we know sitting at that table, damn good and well, that you're not even going to get to see that kid. But it puts the parent at ease.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
so. I just
Now,
wanna
one
scream.
thing I will say is that we started to get more resources because that was one thing that I was really big on. So we know we can't see them regularly. So we were able to outsource a lot.
Is that where y'all do those like virtual things? I saw something
Yes.
in a 504 meeting I had, and they recommended some new district initiative where they had this virtual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I can call a name, but
No, we ain't
yeah,
calling no names.
It was great. It was really great. Because the kid got free counseling, and any kid in the district was able to get free counseling for however many sessions that was deemed needed.
Oh, wow.
So it was phenomenal. It was only virtual, if I'm remembering correctly. And so that definitely helped us with numbers and just ongoing care. But the challenge was more so than about making sure the parent completed the paperwork or getting something else from the kid, or they didn't have a phone number, because the kids that I was referring usually had something that was stopping them from already getting help as is.
Yeah.
Whether it was, I don't have a reliable phone, I don't have a home that I'm at regularly. So now I'm running into other barriers that's preventing me from being able to improve my mental health. And so you really are my only person that I know I have consistently. When I'm not really consistent either.
Right.
So it's just, like I said, it's a broken system.
Yeah.
It's a
And
broken system.
especially when it's like, okay, when you're there, okay, I can see them at 10:30. Well, 10:30 is a core class. It's algebra. And if they're with you for 30 minutes to an hour, they missed these core concepts that we're teaching. And so then now what?
Yep.
It's just like this vicious, crazy cycle.
Absolutely.
It's like, how can we fix that? It's like,
Absolutely.
is there a fix for this to get the kids
$1 million
the help?
question.
Okay. All right.
$1 million
I just thought
question.
I'd ask.
You
I'd
know?
ask. Okay, we went off. Let's go back to teen dating violence.
Yes,
I got into, because I needed people to hear counselors, because we hear people talk down on counselors so bad, like they don't do nothing, all they do, but a lot of that is out of y'all's control. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that we got to have that little spiel, because we need to let the people know that majority of this stuff is out of y'all's controls. Y'all's desire. Y'all went into this to counsel.
Correct.
You did not go into this to be a testing
Correct.
coordinator or a scheduler or a lunch duty person or a second admin when they're not on campus with a walkie-talkie. That isn't what you signed up to do.
Not at all.
All right. So, okay, people, now y'all know. All right, so let's go back to phones. You brought up phones and digital abuse, right? Let's talk about digital abuse, because I think this is one area where I want to scream at parents, because how in the hell do you pay $1,500 for a little machine and $200 a month for that machine, and you're not monitoring that machine? You're giving your kids so much privacy on this little handheld machine, and this is where the shit go down. This is where everything is going down there.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about how teens are using technology to control, track, and manipulate their partners.
We can start real simple. I'm going to leave you on red. So you're going to see that I saw everything you said already.
Ooh, that hurts. That
And-
hurts.
Now you going crazy because either I done lit you up via text or you saw it and now I'm not responding to you. So now you losing your cool because you don't know what I'm doing. You don't have access to me. Or let's turn on your tracker and I'm going to share my location with you. So let's find my friend. Find you, boo. Where you at?
Where you at?
You didn't turn it off? Or you don't really love me like that because you're not showing it. You're not showing me your location. Well, you don't have nothing to hide, remember? Like, you're honest with me, right? So then there's that aspect of it. Or posting things online. Okay, if you don't. Or let's be real, like showing your friends, look what they sent me. And all of that can be used against kids. I've had kids have pictures of themselves nude leaked. These kids grew up with this technology. This is normal for them. They are leaps and bounds ahead of us. Let's be real. There are apps that look like calculators that really aren't calculators, and you got to put the number in on the sequence of the calculator right, and then it opens up a whole nother phone you'll never know that existed. And you just got everything. They know how to work this phone way better than I could ever imagine. And then what do you do with that kind of knowledge and a half a brain? Like, complete respect. Not,
That's crazy.
It's-
I don't know when I saw this happening, maybe 5-6 years ago, where the boyfriends and the girlfriends had each other's phones. So, like, you pull a phone out in class. I'm like, give me this phone. Put that phone on my desk. Oh, miss, this is such. Why do you have such and such a phone? Well, I told her to give it to me. I said, what do you mean you told her to give it to me? That's my girlfriend. I didn't ask you that. I said, why do you have her phone? Because I'm baffled. Because ain't nobody finna get my phone. What do you mean? You're 13. What you mean you told her to give it to you? She gave it to you. So then I got to go find a little girl to ask her what kind of crack is she smoking, because why does this little boy have your phone? He told me to give it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Why? So he can see who's texting me throughout the day? Why? Like, I have so many questions. And does your mother know? Does your dad know that you're getting some little boy, letting him use your phone or hold your phone while he tracks you? No? Okay, we finna call him and tell him, because you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I did not know. The location thing drives me, because y'all are 13, 14. The hell, your location's at home with your mama. What do you mean your location is on? Passcodes. I have to have your passcode to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when grown-ups, married couples, what you need my passcode for? You don't need, that's my business. Why are y'all children sharing their passcodes, their Apple Pay, their Cash App codes? Like, the phone is the source of a lot of this shit.
Yeah, because we kind of give it to them real young.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really set up rules or expectations for it. And then they kind of just have to learn by trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do when you're just a kid? Like, this is normal. So my friend has my passcode. My spouse has my passcode. My partner has my passcode. Whatever it is, like, everybody can have my passcode if I'm cool with you. And then I just change it if I don't.
Right,
you know.
right.
Or you can, you take the whole phone. That's no problem.
That is crazy.
It really, so a lot of times it's just understood as you care.
Mm-hmm.
When in actuality, they don't understand it is an insecurity on the other person, not them. And so I know I'm not hiding anything. So here, sure, you can have my phone, but I see you care about me because you really want to know what's going on in my world. That's how we rationalize it. When in actuality, it's like, no, they just actually really insecure and really possessive and controlling right now.
And then want other people to see that they have control over you, because how much hair do I get to grow on my chest if I'm in the locker room telling all my boys, I run this, I run her. She do what I tell her to do.
Correct.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, jump.
Oh, my goodness.
Start barking.
So let's talk about, you know what? No, I got to stay on phones, because it's so much I want parents to understand and know about phones, right? I didn't know what a trap phone was. Took a couple of years ago, when for some we got new phones, and I think I took my daughter or my son, so I can't remember who was in trouble at that time, and they were telling with them, and my Xfinity app showed such and such iPhone connected to the Wi-Fi, and I said, iPhone 8. These Negroes got iPhone 20s. Why is the iPhone 8 connected to the Wi-Fi? And then I said, oh, dummy. It's an old phone that when they upgrade, they don't give it back to me. They just keep their old phone. And those kids use those as spam phones or trap phones, because I can still connect to the Wi-Fi. And so even though my mom has taken my phone that I can't talk to you on, I can still iMessage you. I can still FaceTime you. I can still get on social media. I can still do all the things. And so these kids are using their trap phones to continue the foolishness. Absolutely. Or their I hate when parents take the iPhone, but you don't take the iPad, or you don't take the MacBook. Because I'm like, baby, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They're doing the same thing on the iMac that they're doing on the iPhone. It's crazy. So letting parents understand that when you do open up a phone, or when you do know that your kid, give me all the devices. Go through all of the devices. And I think parents are slipping when it comes to that. And I know sometimes I struggle with this, because it's like, you know what? If I open this phone, I know I'm going to see some shit that's going to raise my blood pressure up. I know I'm going to see something that's going to cause us to have conflict, because it's something in here that I'm going to have to check you about. But it has to be done. It's one of those uncomfortable things as a parent that just has to be done. Yeah. And a lot of us are not willing to get uncomfortable.
Correct.
And that's the problem.
A lot of parents don't want to get uncomfortable. And sometimes they don't know their limits either, because you never know what you're going to find. And so when you find that worst thing in there, a lot of times it's dealing with sexuality. A lot of times it's dealing with sex in general. And you're not ready for it. Yeah. And then when you see it, what do? Now I got to check me before I can check you. Yeah. Or I don't even recognize I need to check me first. And I'm coming in heated, and this is why your kid hadn't come to you in the first place. So it is, you getting into real sticky area, because it's a lot to it. So it is a fine balance of trust. So if you trust your kid, cool, great. But also be sure, have you taught them phone etiquette, digital etiquette? Do they understand, like, if their location is on and they're posting things online? That was one of the lessons we taught in, like, 5th and 6th grade. Understanding, like, it's dropping your location. Yeah. Now, some kids know about VPN. Yes. And so that, because they're smarter than their parents. Correct. So that can help a little bit, but they don't pay attention to things like I post a picture of myself in my school gear, right? Because I do sports, or whatever it is, or with my friends, and then I just got to go to their page. They don't understand how a parent's brain works or an adult brain works, where I can kind of track you if I want. I just got to figure out your pattern. Yeah. And so understanding how to talk to kids about that, or talking to them about who else can be behind the phone. It's not always who you think. So it starts with kind of things like that as far as safety, and then moving up to, okay, but what about in your friendships? What does safety look like in your friendships? So what is okay and what's not okay? Is it okay to share your password? And we really just talk about that. Get your kids' opinion, not necessarily always telling them, but listening to them to understand where their mindset is, how does their brain kind of rationalize it, and then fill in some of the holes, because you want them to have some autonomy so there's more buy-in versus you just telling them this is what you're going to do and this is how you're going to do it, period.
Because I said so.
Because I paid for this.
Yeah.
Right? You remember that one?
And then guess what? Yeah. Guess what they do? Don't even worry about it, big dog. You took my phone, that's okay, because now my boyfriend, that's a couple of years older than me, gave me a phone. And I can talk to him on it. Correct. And I can still do all the things I need to do. So I can be on punishment. And when parents take their kids' phones I have had students whose phones have been taken for months. I'm talking about 5-6 months. Do y'all really think these kids are not accessing a phone? I've seen students, give me your phone. Let me log into Instagram to check my stuff, message people who I need to message on your phone. Like, y'all are not punishing these kids. There is no way you're going to outsmart these kids. These kids are running circles around the adults. There's just no way. Now, of course, we could have been smarter had we had the technology, but they can't. There's no way they can. Yeah. So going back to something you said about social media, when the kids are like giving so much of their personally identifiable information, right? We see now these kids have their bios, and it may say, I'm just using this as an example, Willow Ridge High School, class of 2025, I'm off 7th period. Like, they put all the junk in their bio to let the person on the other side of the phone that may not be their age know, like you said, their pattern, where I can go get you, where I can look for you. And then their pages, because they're so obsessed with likes and followers, their pages are wide open. So anybody in the world can follow them, because it's more important to me to have 50, 60K followers. Yeah. And everybody can see everything.
Yeah, because I'm going to be an influencer.
I'm going to be an influencer.
I'm going to be an influencer.
What do you mean?
I'm going to get paid off of this. Like, they got access to money way quicker than we do.
But you don't know what they're doing for that.
Correct.
I have to tell you that story off the air.
So going back to belonging.
Right.
Likes and clicks still gives you a sense of belonging.
Absolutely.
People pay attention. You can see me, so now I belong. So this is why some kids also will bury themselves in social media. Yeah. Because it really is a lifeline to the connections that they desire that they're not getting in their daily life. So we call that more like emotional poverty. You, in your real life, in your reality, it ain't happening. It's real dry and bare over here. But your social media life look real live.
I like that. So let's talk about why we think kids don't speak up about abuse. So when kids finally realize, okay, I think I'm in a situation that I've lost control of, why are they not speaking up about what's happening to them?
The same reason you didn't go to school bragging about getting your ass whooped when you got home for getting a C or an F or a D. That is embarrassing for
right.
Like, it's really embarrassing. And then sometimes there's a level of fear. I don't really know how this is going to end for me. I'm kind of scared. I might be hoping for the best. Like, this is just right now. Maybe they're in a bad space. And that's kind of why they're handling me like this. Or this is kind of what I've seen, so this is the norm for me. There are a lot of different reasons that can cause kids to really stay in it. When we get into the social media aspect and the influence of it, like, we look really good on camera. Yeah. Like, we are that couple. Yeah. Everybody knows us. We're the homecoming king and queen. Whatever it is. And, like, we kind of stay on that until we can see something different. But if nobody ever tells them, like, hey, you all right? You good? Right. Then I can't leave it. I can't leave it. Or the belief that if I do leave it and I go tell my parents, are they going to get mad at me? Yeah. Like, how could you be so stupid? Right. Right? So now my parent is not really my safe space. They haven't been my safe space. Why would you all of a sudden be my safe space? Yeah. Or if you have a dad like mine, he going to 10. And it's no conversation is going to be had. Talk. My dad going to jail. Talk. My dad's going to jail. I got hit by a boy, and I did not tell my daddy until I was a grown woman married with kids, because I was like, sir, you going to be in prison. Yeah. And I know they ain't
Yeah.
letting you out this time.
Yeah.
This one,
Yeah.
they gonna have you for good.
Yeah. That's why I always tell baby Big Wayne going to 10 about
Just know.
his. Yeah.
Just know.
So that was probably
Yeah.
something we couldn't say. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about peer pressure or shame that keeps the victim silent, right? So let's talk about the ideal football player, star football player, and the ideal star dancer, star cheerleader, right? And I'm staying silent because all the friends are pressuring me because he got 10 offers on the table. And if I say something, this is going to ruin his chances.
Yeah.
Or they're shaming me into thinking that it was my fault. And this is why I can't say anything.
Yeah, because you put yourself in this position. You knew what you were signing up for, right? So you stayed. And so why are you trying to call him out now? You chose to stay. And so it is that victim blaming mentality when in actuality it's just the people around you really are no good for you.
Yeah.
And so that one's really hard because it's also removing them from that peer group to help them understand, like, nah, it is okay to call people out. Like, you don't deserve to be mishandled for any reason. And if they lose these opportunities, it's not because of you telling, it's because of what they're doing. What they're doing. And so it's normalizing what's really going on. But it's that skewed perception. Their advice is coming from somebody who looks like them, sounds like them. In your teen years, your peers are more of your guide for life than your parents
Yeah.
And that's the hard space.
We say that all the time. Like, you can take as a parent years and years and years of building your child up, and it takes one kid to come along and tear down years of building your kid up. And they are too influential. And when we talk about, you said something earlier about the peers saying, you put yourself in a situation you could have left. I want to talk about when the adults in the building, whether that be the parents or whether that be the educators, because I'm thinking specifically of some athletes that I know that have been in situations like these. And when the girls go to the coaches to try to tell them this is occurring, this is happening, they're hearing that same rhetoric from the coaches, the adults. So if me, a kid, has always been taught that teachers or educators are my safe space, they're safe people that I can tell because they are mandated reporters, they have to help me, they have to do something. And then that adult is telling me, yo bad, we need him Friday night for this field. So figure that out and shut your mouth while you're doing it. Because I'm going to subtly tell you to shut your mouth.
Correct.
So then what?
Same thing. You got to find somebody else to talk to. Like, it really, that's where it's getting more and more complicated because it sounds like the resources that they know that they are supposed to be able to trust are not reliable. And so how do you help a kid when they are doing the steps that you would tell them to do? Go get support. The only thing I would tell them is just keep making noise. Keep making noise. Don't stop. If you know in your heart of hearts something is wrong here, don't stop making noise. You keep telling everybody until you get the help that you know you're deserving of. Bottom line, that's all you can do.
That's so crazy. So when we talk about consequences, like, have you ever had any situations dealing with school that a kid has actually been given some real consequences for their abuse? And if not, are we being too lenient on these kids who we know who have been proven to exhibit these abusive behaviors? Are we not doing enough in the schoolhouse?
I'm gonna go with, if it's like a fight, they get the usual consequences. Maybe ISS, maybe alternative school.
And we're talking about a relationship fight, a boyfriend-girlfriend fight, or boyfriend-boyfriend, or girlfriend-girlfriend, because y'all y'all can't beat your sexuality out of your kids. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I just had to say that. I had to say that.
So no, I've seen them get that kind of punishment, but I also haven't seen anything really extreme that was like, ooh, this is a little too much. Like, no weapons were drawn.
Right.
Anything just crazy. It's a lot of areas that have not been defined. Again, it's a broken system.
Right.
So now I'm giving you rules after I know you've done something that is perceived wrong, but it's almost having to think of any and everything that could potentially go wrong. Yeah. And that's a lot. There are going to be holes.
Because assault is assault, right?
Correct.
And I know I'm dealing with a parent right now that's asking for help out of Humble ISD, and I said their name because I'm finna call y'all out on some shit in a minute. But the school resource officer said, no, that's not assault, it's mutual combat, because he slapped her and she pushed him back for slapping her. Okay, so now instead of doing that, now we got to go to the Kingwood Police Department or the Houston Police Department and try to file charges on our own, because in the school system where y'all know this is assault or that was battery, you're covering it up. You're sprinkling candy on this bullshit and you know what it was. And in essence, protecting that kid. I don't know if y'all protecting them because I don't want them to have a record. I don't want them to do A, B, C, D. But is that reality? Is that really helping them? Because in the real world, what you did was assault. What that kid did was push you off of them because you slapped them. You were still getting in their face. So how, just because I put my hands on you, is now considered mutual combat?
Because if I'm understanding it correctly, how it was explained to me is if you could have gotten away from me when I slapped you, then you chose to engage with me. Yep. So if the kid could have just walked away
after you got the shit slapped out of you,
got the shit slapped out of you, you needed to just get up and walk away because I wasn't attacking you. It wasn't you having to defend yourself and then escaping. But it was mutual combat at that point. You stood there and you held your ground too.
Right.
Versus anything else. So do I think there needs to be harsher punishment? Yes, but I also think that needs to come with a level of education. So going back to, it really is just kids having to understand, because you are, again, you don't have the whole part of your brain that helps you with decision making. And so there is a lot of impulsivity. There is a lot of, this is what I feel, so it must be real. So now I have to react to it. I don't need to slow down a little bit. Like, I'm going to let you know real quick, don't handle me like that. However that looks, however I have seen, don't handle me like that, and I'm going to put you in your place. That's what I'm going to do to the next person. So when they say hurt people, there you go. You're going to get your example of it. So it's really hard to say harsher consequences, because you may genuinely have a kid who was exposed to a lot of unhealthy relationships, and that's their normal. So now you're penalizing them for the environment that they grew up in. Not an excuse, just an explanation to understand, like, it's not as simple as, okay, well, let's lock them up. Right. Let's give them a permanent record. Let's make it, they can't ever be around a kid. Okay. And now what?
And I think I'm kind of on the fence with that, because I know the real world. They're not going to be, we're too coddling and we babyfy too much in the school system, right? And so we were talking about this yesterday with my principal, how some of our kids have left the middle school and gone on to the high school. And now that they've gotten into high school, baby, there are no chances. They sending them to behavior school. They're sending them to jail. They got a mugshot on the Facebook page and an orange jumpsuit because they didn't get any chances over there. Where across the street, we were, oh, it's okay. It's black women over here. We love you. We're going to protect you. And they get over there with a lot of people that don't look like us. And they're like, oh, we don't fuck with them like that. They did something wrong. They're going to jail. So I feel like a lot of times, I hate giving kids records, right? But I also feel that we're permitting this behavior. And my mom used to always have this saying, what you permit is what you promote. And if we're permitting this behavior, or we're sweeping it under the rug, or we're telling them, okay, let's just go to counseling. Let's just go talk to somebody. And you don't get a consequence for that, you're going to think it's okay for you to continue putting your hands on somebody, on somebody's child. And then that daddy you're going to meet that Big Wayne. And Big Wayne ain't trying to have no conversation with you. Big Wayne finna have you on the back of a t-shirt. So I feel like we should, schools, and I hate to put more on schools because we already have a lot on us, but if it's happening there, or at least we need to do the education there. If we can write the damn Bible in the curriculum now, I didn't mean say damn Bible, I'm going to hell, huh? Anyway, if we can write the Bible in the curriculum now, we need to do something about that. I feel like we have a responsibility to educate as much as we can, because the world ain't going to be nice and lenient to you. The world is not going to be forgiving. The world is not going to offer you therapy. The world's not going to do any of that. So
there's proactive care and there's reactive care. And so a lot of times we're doing a lot of the reactive work and hoping for the best. Right. And we could be doing a lot more proactive care on top of it. So for sure, consequences definitely can steer some behaviors, but it's not a one-stop shop.
Right, absolutely.
So it's like, what is our kind of pact of things that we can put together to say, like, all right, we're going to do X, Y, and Z to help promote healthier relationships versus just like, oh, nah, you don't get to do that anymore.
But promoting healthy relationships almost feels like you're promoting sex, because that's how Texas will spin it, because Texas be Texasin. So we can't do anything. It's like lose-lose. So let's go to therapy real quick. So how do you think that therapy and accountability measures can help? I don't even want to say can we rehabilitate abusive teenagers? I know the counselor you is going to give me the great answers instead of just punishing them. What kind of therapy things can be available to them instead of just being punitive?
So first is understanding where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
All behaviors serve a purpose, even ones that do not work in our favor.
Mm-hmm.
All behaviors serve a purpose. And so a lot of times when you're seeing the aggressive behaviors, the power and control behaviors, it may be a lack of power and control in their personal life.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of how I am getting that control back,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how to use it, and I don't know how to apply it, and this is how I know I can.
Okay.
This is kind of where my brain is saying like, oh, you're doing really good here, so
Mm-hmm.
keep it going there. So in that aspect, can we help? Absolutely. But you can only help as far as that person wants help. I can't work harder than you.
Right, absolutely.
At the end of the day, if you don't see a problem in your behavior and you're just showing up to kind of check the box to say I came here and see if this works, well, that's like me saying go to the gym and just stand there and look at the machines and hope some weight falls off. Like, it's only going to work if you work.
If you work.
So
yeah.
we tell people that all the time. Therapy works if you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about rehabilitate, but you definitely can become more informed. And so it won't be so much of an impulsive decision. It's now you just deciding to act the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you understand this is the consequences. And that's when you're getting more hardened people
Right.
that just make choices like that versus it's impulsive.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
when it's with kids, it's teaching them how to understand their body. So things like I was saying, that feeling of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you belong anywhere else? How do you think about yourself? How do you see yourself? And understanding how their inner world is impacting their external world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we go back to your therapy practice, how many cases would you say, or how many babies have you seen in there that are dealing with some type of abuse in their relationship, in their personal relationships with significant others, or even in school when you were in the system, when you were on the plantation?
A lot of them.
A lot.
I can't even give a percentage.
Damn,
because
that's
you're gonna. Of all the kids I talked to, it would be odd to get a kid that didn't talk about a relationship one day.
Mm.
It would be really odd.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of them are coming in with some type of relationship, whether it's familiar relationships,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's friendships, whether it's romantic. They're talking about some type of relationship. Most kids are not coming in just talking about, I think something's wrong with me.
Right.
If they do come in with that, then we're trying to figure out, well, when did that start? And then it's starting back
With the relationship.
with the relationship. Because
Yeah.
this is, again, humans are relational beings. So it's not uncommon to have people come in and be like, something's wrong with me because of these things that have taken place.
Yeah.
So it happens, like, regularly.
And I know me, I'm a big advocate for mental health, right? And I pay both of my kids, they don't kill me if they hear this, see therapists, right? But it's not on a negative. It was not because anything happened.
Yeah.
It was just because, hey, I think it's cool for you to have somebody to talk to outside of me that can be non-biased, that you can just have a judgmental free space to listen to, right? And if the insurance company says unlimited visits and it only costs me $30 a visit, every other week your appointment is scheduled, right? It's virtual, it's in person if you won't feel like you need to be in person. And I know the other day my daughter was upstairs talking to her therapist, and I was in the bedroom, and our rooms are right on top of each other, so I can't hear anything. But she's laughing. I mean, she's kiki-kakan it up. And I said, when she's done, I said, were you on the phone with Miss such and such? She's like, yeah, we were FaceTiming, we were talking. And I said, well, what the hell is so funny, right? Because therapy ain't supposed to be funny. She says, Mom, like, we just have a good time. Like, we were talking about dogs, and I showed her that I did a haircut on my dog, and so we're just having a good time. And I said, you know what? This lady can have my copay every 2 weeks because I just know that it's a good time for her. It's a good space.
Yeah.
And so I think, especially us Black parents, taking the stigma away from therapy, right? Therapy is not just something you go to because it's something traumatic has happened to you, or, oh my God, I'm noticing a change in my child, I'm going to force them to go to therapy. But just letting them know, like, hey, you got a cool person that you can just talk to and relate to, and it's no judgment. And I think what my kids love is that when we first met, we met together, right, before the first session, and she says, hey, I can't tell your mama nothing we talk about. And my kids are like, for real? Bet. And she said, unless it's something that you're going to harm yourself. I don't know what the thing is. You're going to harm yourself.
Hurt somebody else, somebody's hurting you, or you ask me to tell.
Yeah. That's it.
That's
So
it.
I have no idea, and I never ask. I just say at the end of every session, I get my little invoice, and I say, hey, how was Miss Johnson today? Oh, it was cool. The end. If they want to continue telling me what they talked about, cool. If not, baby, take my $30 every have a good time.
Yeah.
So I
You're
like
an
it.
ideal parent.
I just know,
for a therapist.
and I don't think that. I know if the things or resources were available to me when I was a kid, my parents probably would have done the same thing to me, right? But I don't think a lot of us, Black people, we want our kids to see Black therapists.
Yeah.
Right? Black men, I think we got a common friend that we're both pushing. We on his neck. Like, you are the greatest. This school district does not deserve you at all. Hurry up and take your test and pass your test and go get the bag. But because you're needed. And even like today, I think tomorrow, he's doing a FaceTime with some kids he's had since they were like 6th grade. And like they're all seniors now. We doing college stuff. We having a meet and greet. Like, you're still on it. So the amount of people that are in waiting lines to get a Black male therapist, the insurance runarounds to get a Black female therapist that your insurance company will pay for, that you don't have to come out of your pocket $250 a session for your child to speak to. Like, the barriers that are in place for our kids to access mental health services is insane. Yeah, so insane.
To a certain degree, yes, it really varies because honestly, again, school districts have a lot of resources, and they are doing a better job of outsourcing a lot of things. Some school districts have therapy like connected with the school, and so those therapists can come into the school and all of that kind of stuff. And then some have it to where they can just, like I said, sign the paperwork, right? And then now we
bring the paperwork back, parents. Sign the paperwork and bring it back.
Email it back.
Send it something.
Like
pigeon carrier.
Digital.
We'll do it. We trying.
We do
free. We trying.
It's free.
Yeah.
Like, we're not gonna send you a bill later. Yeah. Nothing. So,
but I'm scared you're gonna expose my business too. So I'm a little apprehensive about that because I don't know what my child gonna go in here and tell y'all. Yeah. And what goes on in my house stays in my house too.
Absolutely have ran into that. And so what I tell them again, unless your kid tells me they want to hurt themselves, they want to hurt somebody else, they're getting hurt, or they ask me to tell. It's not coming out. Yeah. It's not coming out. It gets hard for parents when you get into like sex. Yeah. Pregnancy in school, they have to report. That's different. That's not in like private practice. Yeah. We talk about safety, but at the end of the day, if you're not in harm's way, then I don't necessarily have to tell. And so parents are uncomfortable with that because it's like, I needed to know this. And I do agree, as a parent, what I want to know. Right. Absolutely. As a therapist, I am thinking about the safety of my client. Of the child, yeah. So if my child can be hurt, my client child can be hurt in this, then I have to think very carefully about what is the next move, what's the best move, or we're talking through this together so that they feel like they have some autonomy in this too.
Because you have a license you have to maintain.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter what a parent feels. If the law says I cannot, I cannot. Because I care about my license and my money.
Yes and no, because you have rights as a parent.
Okay, tell me about that.
Because this is a minor, it's an open records request.
Okay.
So you can ask me for whatever you want.
Your notes.
You can ask me for my notes. You can ask me for whatever I have, whatever documentation. It's just like school. You can ask for the whole file. Do I have to give it to you? Absolutely. Because you are the legal guardian. At the same time, when you don't create a space where this kid can feel safe, they're going to create it themselves. Yes. And so if that's what is your focus is just making sure they have a safe space, is picking somebody then you need to trust as well. Yeah. Because a lot of times I had one parent that was using me more so like a secondary parent. So they wanted me to get on the kid about their grades, how they were behaving at school, what they were doing with their friends or not doing at home. And I had to tell the parent, hey, that's not what I do. Yeah. If that's what you're looking for, I'm not going to be able to help you out. My goal is to really help the kids. And I tell the kids that, like, I'm your advocate. Right. I speak kid and I speak adult. So I can go ahead and let them know, like, nah, you ain't.
Right, we ain't gonna do that. Yeah.
We ain't playing them games. And I don't have to follow these rules in school and be proper.
Oh, man, you free. Like, nah. You free.
Nah, that ain't gonna happen here. All right. So it is finding somebody that you also feel comfortable with as a parent. And that's a big part of it. So I always tell people, think of therapists like restaurants. I might take you somewhere because my mama dogs me out because I say I'm vegan, right? And she'll be like, Shannon, I don't know what you eating, baby. And I take her somewhere and she's like, this is horrible, right? But to me, it's good. Best. Yeah. Same thing with therapists. I might tell you, like, go to this person. They're phenomenal. And you're like,
They're not a good fit.
Or some people will write it off completely. No, I knew this wasn't going to work because I'm already a little sketchy about this. And it's like, no, just keep trying.
Yeah.
Keep trying. Just like a restaurant, you can go to a restaurant that you heard great reviews on, and it wasn't for you. And then you go somewhere else, and it's like, this is the best I've ever had.
Yeah.
So just keep trying it out until you find what works well for you and your child.
Okay.
Or if your child is comfortable, giving them a little more space to trust them can also help build the relationship and understanding what is uncomfortable for you as the parent with this therapist.
Okay. That makes sense. So let's wrap it up, and let's talk about how these parents and these kids can get some help. Like, what are some resources available to get help? If you are in this situation, if your parents are noticing that you're in this situation, what's out there to get the help that they need?
So for parents, the first thing I would tell you is monitor your kids' baseline. You know how they operate on a normal day-to-day basis. If you see them coming off their baseline, just check in with them.
Okay.
Kids can sometimes tell you how they feel, and sometimes they can't. Just tell them, like, I just noticed you're a little different. If you ever want to talk to me, feel free. And when they come to you, you have to be a safe space.
Have to.
You have to be a safe space. The moment you are not a safe space is the moment they cannot tell you anything else, because I know you can't handle it. I know you can't. So be sure you're a safe space when you are talking to them. Then educate and empower them. I talked a lot about, like, just letting them know, like, this is what's healthy, this is what's not. This is what's possessive behavior. This is what's loving and caring. This is when someone's showing interest in you and not trying to control you. So really educating them on what does a healthy relationship actually look like, sound like, feel like. All of those things. Then it gets down to just practical support. Okay, do you know what to do if this relationship start going wrong? Because, you know, a lot of times they love it in that puppy love stage, and we the best thing, and we're going to be high school sweethearts, and then we're going to get married, we're going to have 3 kids, and we're going to live in a big old house. You remember MASH?
MASH. Oh, my God. Yes.
So just understanding, like, how to help them. What are the proper protocols? All right, y'all are arguing. Tell me how long is that okay? And just having open conversations. I always tell parents, you got to talk to your kids. You just got to talk to your kids. Monitor and protect them. At the end of the day, you are the parent. So if you see something going way left, never hesitate to step in. Never hesitate to step in. But also be comfortable knowing that your kid is not going to agree with everything that you choose to do for them, because they may not understand the why. I always tell my kids, you get to be upset. You get to be upset. Fine. It's okay. I am not here to make sure that you are pleased with every single decision I make, and having some comfort in yourself and knowing, like, it's okay for me to protect my child. Right. It is perfectly fine for me to protect my child. So monitoring and protecting them in the ways that you think is best. And if you don't know what's best, then getting somebody to help you out there. Is nothing wrong with seeking more support and more education so that you can become better at what you're doing as a parent. And then encourage help for them. So we're going to go through this together. We're sticking through it no matter what. And just love is respect. That's a website that they can go to and just look up, how do we get help when we need more support? What are the texting numbers that we can text into if you need help? Or maybe even coming up with a code word. I told my kids, like, hey, if you're ever out and you don't feel comfortable, just call me and be like, hey, I didn't feed DOG. Can you give him some food? That's our dog. Okay, then I know. I already know, right?
I'm on the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to come pick you up. And they just know they can say that. So having some conversations about, like, if you ever feel uncomfortable or not safe and you need an escape, I'm always here for you. Use me as your excuse.
I tell my kids that all the time.
I do not care about your little friends.
Me neither. Or their parents. Use me. My mom said, your mom said. I'm okay with that.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And then one big one is modeling healthy relationships. So what do they see love looks like around them? Because you are their first type of love that they will witness, that they will feel personally with you. So what does a healthy relationship look like starting at home? And then for the kids, it's one, being able to understand, like, what is a healthy relationship? Trust your gut. Like, if something feels off to you, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It could really be something's wrong in the relationship. So trust your gut. Tell kids that all the time. So it's nothing wrong with saying, like, this is not okay with me. Yeah. And then getting help from there. So what does it look like to get help from adults? What does it look like to get help from your peers? What does it look like to get help outside of that? And then coming up with a plan depending on the severity of the relationship. I've had some kids being stalked, and then I've had some kids just more like, it's more text,
right?
You know, just the Twitter fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding the gravity of the situation and what's the next best step. So they don't have to do it alone. They got to know they're not alone. So finding a good support system and then employing the plan, whatever it is that you need to do, and having healthy boundaries and making sure like you stick to your boundaries. So let me clarify, when I use the word boundaries, boundaries are for us, not for other people. Rules are for other people. I can tell you, don't call me before 9 a.m. Guess what you can do? You can call me as many times as you want. A boundary will be, I don't answer the phone before 9 a.m. So what are your boundaries when it comes to a relationship? What are your non-negotiables? I'm just not having that, period. And that's for males and females. Just know, or non-binary and anything in between. No, this is what's okay for me, and this is what's unacceptable for me. And that's perfectly fine. And then last but not least, getting help. Just get help. And so that can be therapy, that can be support groups. They have a lot of like chats for kids where it's led by adults. And it's more in the means that they're accustomed to talking to people. It's not always face-to-face. Sometimes it might be art therapy. Sometimes it might be dance. Sometimes it may be like a male mentor group that gets to do activities and understanding from a male perspective, because a lot of times boys are not normalized for having emotions like girls are. So it's a lot different for them when they're going through hardship, because they don't get talked to the same way. It's like man up. So understanding it's okay to get support, because these are human characteristics.
So before we wrap up, let's circle back to how, if they want to reach out to you, to you personally in your practice and what you do, how can they reach you? Socials, websites, anything you want to say so that they can come to you? Because I already know that you're a phenomenal therapist.
Oh, thank you.
I'm being a little biased, but you know.
Thank you. No, we really are. We good.
We good. we are good.
We really good. We got Faye Cooper, Ashley Gully, and then me, Shannon Salmon. We're at Hurt Speaks Wellness Center. So you can find us on Instagram at _hurtspeaks.com. No, I always say .com.
You do.
It's just
underscore
Hurt Speaks. So hurt, like you've been hurt by something. Ouch. Speaks. We want to allow your hurt to speak in our space. So Hurt Speaks Wellness Center. Or you can find us on Facebook at Hurt Speaks Wellness Center. And then our website is hurtspeaks.com.
Okay.
Finally. Hurtspeaks.com.
All right. And I'm going to put all of these in the show notes so that they can access them. And reach out to you guys. I will say that I know them because they are phenomenal former educators.
Yeah.
But always an educator. Once, always.
Once and always.
So they broken away free to do their own thing. We are so proud of them.
Yeah.
So proud of them. Hopefully follow in their footsteps
you
soon.
Coming?
We coming, baby. Like Deion said, we coming. All right. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for sitting down talking to us. I want to use this episode because I have another parent that's going to come on shortly to talk about her experience with her baby and not being able to recognize these signs and get the help before it was too late. So thank you for coming here to give us this a precursor. Is that the right word? Before we get into my next guest that's coming on. So I appreciate that so much. And guys, make sure to log on to www.hurtspeakswellnesscenter.com. Yeah. That's it. All right. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all next time.